I almost hit end stream by accident. That would have been good.
You almost hit what there, Mike? What was that you said? Not like we're live or anything here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC Football Podcast. My name's Joey Weaver. He's Mike McDaniel. Mike, week 5 is upon us. We are live, youtube.com/at the ACC Football Podcast, Thursday night, September the 26th. How you doing? You ready to preview some games?
First of all, I thought you were going to say recap. Second of all, I
almost did.
I almost did a wellness check on you. We had some technical difficulties pre-snap here, so to speak.
Mike, up until about 30 minutes, it had already been quite the week in my household, and then my computer just decided, no, we're not doing this whole thing, and so we had some. There was a bit of a tussle on this side between me and the old desktop, and but anyways, nobody wants to hear about that. We're here now. We are live. youtube.com/at the ACC Football Podcast, ready to preview week 5 in the ACC. We got a big group of games here. Shout out to the folks in the chat that are here, that are put up with our tardiness. We were actually, no joke, no lie, we were actually going to make good on the joke from like a week ago and surprise the people and go live early. And, then, well, we're late again. So it's fine. Thank you to the folks in the chat with us here tonight, hanging out, helping us to preview the games, helping us steer the discussion. Thank you guys for doing that. Hit that subscribe button. We would really, really appreciate that. We are aiming for 500 subscribers. We're getting really close. We are already up to 445. That was under 300, I think, when we started the season. So that number is skyrocketing up. So thank you guys so much for your support doing that.
Shout out everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mike, anything before we do our look back here?
No. Sorry we're a day late. I wouldn't call it a day late, $1 short. I've had a crazy work week. Joey has had illness rip through his house. It's just, it's all fine. So sorry we're late.
Yeah, if you listen to the recap that we did Saturday night, I was a little bit under the weather. Saturday was just kind of the start of it, and I think this morning was kind of when things started to wrap up around here. So, like I said, it's been a week, but we're here now. We're ready to preview some games and have some fun and get back to some normalcy. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Mike, as we always do, let's take a look back at week 4, and actually in a new segment that we are going to call the Rhoback Lookback at week 4. As a reminder, please use promo code GOACC20 for 20% off your first order at Rhoback.com for all things. Just phenomenal polos and quarter zips, and they've got jackets and hoodies and T-shirts and shorts and, all sorts of different active wear. Great on the golf course, great on the tennis court, great at church, great at work, great wherever you want to wear them. They're comfortable, they look great. We love ours. You will love yours. Rhoback.com, GOACC20 for 20% off.
We love that.
Love that. All right, Mike, Rhoback look back at week 4. A couple things I wanted to note here, and I wanted to start with NC State, actually. Something that, we talked about. NC State's been struggling, and in particular, I kind of honed in on their defense and in that game against Clemson. And something that I thought more about as Sunday went on and into the week was I don't know that we're giving enough credit to the fact that NC State is having to replace both Peyton Wilson and Jalen Scott at linebacker a year after they had to replace Drake Thomas and Isaiah Moore. Nobody plays 4 linebackers anymore, but they used to go 2 deep with guys who I think 3 of whom are playing on Sundays right now. And for a team that is struggling a little bit, I think, to tackle and to fit the run and that kind of thing, I think some of that is really breaking in and giving bigger roles to new linebackers. So that's definitely something I'm going to be watching going forward. There's going to need to be some development from that group going forward. In particular, if NC State's defense is going to be what we thought it was going to be coming into the year and what it's been for a number of years there in Raleigh.
The expectation at NC State, when we had James Henderson on in the preseason and we were talking through it, the expectation was that the defense was going to be good, but there was some concern about the youth in the front 7. I think we're seeing that crop up here quite a bit against competition outside of Clemson. Throw the Clemson game out, NC State's defense has had some issues this year, right? With big plays, with tackling, just stuff that you're not used to seeing out of a Dave Doran defense.
I mean, Western Carolina, that quarterback was running roughshod on them, right? I mean, just running left and right.
And that just kind of kept I mean, that was the opener, so we were like, we'll see. And then it just kept happening, and it's still happening. And I think a lot of the talk has been focused on the offense. I think NC State fans were also hoping that Grayson McCall would provide them like something at quarterback that they've been missing really the last couple seasons. I think they were hoping just to have like a little bit more consistent play out of quarterback. They didn't really get that from him, and then he got hurt. And now they're hoping that CJ Bailey provides that. But I think you've put yourself in a position where you're really hoping that some of these young guys on both sides of the ball come along a little bit more quickly than maybe they should. I think that's why you're seeing NC State take maybe a half step back here. I mean, they have a favorable schedule the rest of the way, should make a bowl game, but they're a lot closer. I mean, I had this take a couple weeks ago. They're a lot closer to 6-6 than they are to being the team that I think a lot of NC State fans wanted them to be. I think they were hoping for like 8-9 wins, maybe more. And they're not that. They're not that. They might get there from schedule. You know, maybe they just improve. They start playing a little bit better. But I don't think right now, looking at this, I don't think this is going to be a 9-win season for NC State. Like, I mean, do you think they're going 7-1 the rest of the way? Or whatever that math is?
My question for you is, and without playing the schedule game, I don't have the schedule up. Don't pull it up yourself. Are you positive? What are you willing to bet? Are you positive that NC State's making a bowl game?
To me, it's more likely they miss a bowl game than it is to win 8 or 9.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At this point, I mean, and
they're
so,
2-2.
I mean,
they're 2-2.
So, and Dennis brings up, has NC State had a good game yet? And that's the thing, is if you just look at, well, they lost to Tennessee, they lost to Clemson, they beat Western Carolina, they beat Louisiana Tech. Like, by that metric, they haven't had a bad loss yet. But when you take away the what and you look at the how, and you realize they got the doors blown off by Tennessee, like from the get-go, they got the doors blown off by Clemson from the get-go, they had a second half comeback against Louisiana Tech, they needed 4 full quarters basically to get control of that game against Western. Like, no, there hasn't been a single game I've seen from NC State yet that's been impressive. I mean, and you've avoided the embarrassing loss, but none of them have they really looked particularly good for anything close to 4 quarters. So, I mean, by that metric, I thought that was going to be a pretty tough game when they come to Atlanta to play Georgia Tech later in the year. Like, if they look like this late in the year, Georgia Tech's going to be favored by a touchdown, maybe more in that game. Like, I ain't afraid of them right now.
I mean, they're only given 7.5 to Northern Illinois this weekend. I mean, we'll get into the game later and all the specifics, but like,
preseason, you would have thought that was double that or more.
I was going to say
17?
probably at least. Yeah, I'm going to ask you that question here in a few minutes with another game that involves my alma mater.
So you guys ready for the rest of the schedule?
Oh dear.
You
okay, all right.
Let's do it.
So they have Northern Illinois this week, right? Wake, Syracuse, Cal at Cal, Stanford, Duke, then Georgia Tech, like Joey said, and then Carolina.
8 games left. Man, that really feels like
have to go 4-4 to make a bowl game.
I was gonna say that feels like 4. That feels like 4-4, doesn't it? There are a lot of 50-50s in there.
I was gonna say, I mean, a
lot of 50-50s based on what we've seen.
There's a pretty easy path to 3-5 and missing the bowl game, is what I'm saying. You know, based on what we've seen so far. So if you're an NC State fan, you're hoping this takes a step forward. So we'll have to see.
Should be a path to 6-2, Joey. Like, this is not a hard path here.
Yeah, that's very true.
They got their 2 toughest games out of the way, and one of them was out of conference.
Yeah, completely.
I mean,
and we're talking about it differently if those are 14-point losses and not down by 40. You know, like at one point, like that's a different thing that we're talking about. So
Ironically, it's like talking about Virginia Tech. It's the same thing. It's like, am I shocked they're 2-2? No. Am I shocked they were down 17 to Vanderbilt and down 3 scores last weekend at Rutgers at home? Yes. It's not that you lost. It's how you're losing.
Yep. Yeah. And I feel like that could honestly apply to a lot of ACC teams this year. So we'll get into that. Another thing that came up to me that I wanted to bring up, Mike, is we mentioned obviously James Madison laying 70, putting a 70 burger on North Carolina last week. Something that we just completely glazed over here and didn't mention. You know who James Madison's head coach is?
I do. Yeah, that'd be Bob Chesney.
That's a name that we brought up a decent amount last year. He was Holy Cross's head coach. They were going to go play Boston College in what ended up being a pretty tight rivalry game early in the year, and Boston College pulled it out. But, I mean, we were all pretty impressed with Holy Cross, and that was like a top 10 FCS team. He's now the guy at James Madison. We said Boston College should have hired him. I'm not going to try to relitigate whether Bill O'Brien or Bob Chesney was the right hire there, but I just found that interesting as a thing that I had totally forgotten about and was reminded of after the fact. And I mean, damn if James Madison didn't look good under the leadership of one Robert Chesney. So for what that's worth.
Yeah, it's working out so far with O'Brien, but just something to keep an eye on.
Yep, for sure. Mike, you said you had something from Pat Narduzzi was connected to Youngstown State and kind of motivated to throw an extra score or two up on the board there last week?
I forget. Yeah, but I totally forget the context of that. There was
I thought you'd sent me he
tweet.
said in the post-game presser, right? Or something that his Pat Narduzzi's dad used to be like the head coach at Youngstown and got fired. And Pat took exception to that, I guess.
Yeah, and that was something that took place like 40 years ago. Just wanted to lay it on him.
Yeah, well,
I appreciate that family connection, and I think that now that I'm thinking about it again, that's exactly what it was.
I was surprised by that because holding a grudge like that sounds nothing like a Pat Narduzzi that I know. But you learn something new about people every day. So maybe that is a character trait of his.
That's exactly right. Here's the let's see. Never mind. Wrong thing. That's good podcasting. Okay, moving on. I thought I had the tweet. I did not. So
yeah, well,
sorry.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of sometimes winning and sometimes losing, last thing I had here, Mike, was I wanted to circle back on Georgia Tech's defense a little bit because something again I didn't really realize until it was either Sunday or Monday. So the defense, I mean, under Tyler Santucci this year feels like slightly improved, and at least like the run defense has been decent in terms of, I guess one of the terms would be stuff rate. So number of times that they try to run the ball and you're holding them to just, a yard or two or something pretty small. I didn't fully realize, so I started looking into this. You realize Georgia Tech has that defense through 4 games against FBS competition has basically done absolutely nothing as it relates to generating sacks and generating turnovers. They don't have a turnover, I don't think. I think they might have a fumble recovery. They definitely don't have any interceptions through 4 FBS games. They only have 2 sacks in 4 FBS games. And, some of that, I wonder a little bit how much of that might be related to opposing offenses with the head communication stuff and playing a little bit more cleanly. And plus you've played a couple of different veteran quarterbacks, guys like, again, Kyle McCord, Tyler Shuck, DJU, like guys that have been around for a long time. But some of it's like, are we ever going to generate any sort of chaos with this defensive front? And I don't know. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on for sure, is like, you're going to have to start doing some of this at some point if you're going to actually like start making some hay as a defense.
I agree, but they were also so bad last year that maybe this is just the improvement, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just simply doing a better job at not giving up a bunch of big plays.
Yeah.
And that's like that's like the step this year.
Yeah. And I mean,
That's
if you look at SP Plus ratings, I mean, last year they were a little bit outside of the hundreds, I think. I think it was like between 100 and 110. This year, I think latest I saw they were like 87th, which is improvement. Like,
I mean,
a
it's
little
like 20
bit.
spot, probably like a 20 spot improvement.
It could be. And you don't have to be that much. Again, we said like we're looking for something in the 60s. And that's not another crazy jump from there to get into the 60s. So
Agree.
We will see. The only other thing, and this is going to be the last time we talk about Georgia Tech on this podcast, just because it's a bye week. So while we're talking about them, and so before we move on, if you're a Georgia Tech fan and you're out there on Twitter or on the boards or on whatever you're doing, and they lose a game to a ranked team on the road, they were double-digit underdogs, and they lose that game, and you're sitting here saying, well, season's over. What should we be looking for next year? And who are we looking for in the transfer portal? And like all this stuff. Like, can we not calm? The Vegas win total's 4.5. Okay. They've got 3 already. It's okay. You're not looking for them to win a national title. They're not going to go 11-1. It's fine. Calm down. Some of the stuff like this doomsday stuff, calm down. Let it go. You figured they were going to lose. And again, this is another, like, not the what, it's the how. Like, I understand, that piece of it, but like, it's okay. Calm down. Not every loss is the end of the season. I still think they're going to make a bowl game at worst. Like, again, that stuff just like kind of wears thin on me a little bit when we do this doomsday stuff. That every time they lose a game, even though they're supposed to lose it, like it's fine. It's fine.
I'm going to save my take on this for like 2 minutes from now because I have something to add, but I want to wait till we're in the preview.
Fair enough. Anything else on the Rhoback Lookback at week 4, Mike?
No, we did a nice job with that, though, I think.
Hopefully.
Give me a nice little pat on the back,
There you go. That nice EA Sports College Football 25s hoodie you're wearing. I like that. Looks
did
good.
Did not pay for it. Shout out to the folks at EA. Did not pay for it.
I don't know why they didn't send me one. I don't know.
All you gotta do is write about the video game release, and they send you a bunch of free stuff. So.
There you go. All right, let's move on, Mike. Week 5. As we get into week 5, we recap last week's locks. You went 3-0.
Yeah, I did.
You had Clemson minus the 20.5. You had Cal Florida State under the 44.5. You had Virginia minus 3.5. That makes you 6-3 on the year in locks, Mike. I am 5-4. So let's move on. Friday, September the 27th.
11-7 as a podcast. Just want to slide that in.
Yeah, that'll do. That'll make you some money. And nothing would make me happier than to just totally gloss over the fact that I went 0-2 in locks last week. I was really thought I was going to get away with that one, but
totally fine. Got a little hose on the BC line.
Jackets Louisville over 57.5. Again, there were some red zone shenanigans there that didn't work in my favor. And Boston College left some points on the board, winning by 4. Yeah. I had them minus 6.5, so that kind of sucked. But we're gonna get right this week, Mike. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, starting
11-7 on the year if you're following our locks.
Yep.
We got a bunch of games, Mike, this weekend. We start Friday, September the 27th at 7:30 on ESPN. Your Hokies on the road in South Beach or Coral Gables or Miami Gardens or wherever it is at the number 7 Miami Hurricanes, and Miami a small 17.5 point favorite here in a game with a total of 53.5. That's a lot of points, Mike, but so let me start here. I'm tempted to lay the points.
Mm-hmm.
Is Virginia Tech the best team that Miami's played so far?
Could they beat Florida? That's what you're asking.
Or could they beat South Florida? Might be the better question. I
South
want to be totally
Florida
disrespectful.
might be the best team Miami's played so far.
I don't want to be
some variation of Florida.
I want to be totally disrespectful to the University of Florida and one Billy Napier, but could Virginia Tech beat South Florida on neutral field? I'm not sure. Let's put it this way. Virginia Tech is probably the second, not even probably, Virginia Tech is the second most talented team that Miami's played this year.
All right, yeah, I'll give you that.
They have more talent than South Florida, Florida A&M. Who was the other walkover? One of the MAC schools.
Ball State?
Ball State, yeah. I think Virginia Tech's got more talent than Ball State, although.
Mike, you picked Ball State that week. Just saying.
And then they didn't score a single point. That was a lot of fun. So this game was up to Miami minus 20 when I previewed it on my Tech Pod on Wednesday night. The way I went about talking about this game is that there's a couple ways for this to happen for Virginia Tech, right? Let's start with this, Joey. Before the season began, right, when we were looking at Virginia Tech thinking that they were going to be much better than they obviously are, what did you think the spread would be in this game? I thought it would be probably Miami minus 10 to 12.
I was there in the 9 to 10 range.
Fine.
Maybe in Miami I would maybe say 11. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Okay. So like before the year, we're talking about this game in the context of like Miami by almost 2 scores. Mm-hmm. So when I see Miami play the way they've played so far, and I saw a line of Miami by 3 scores, I'm thinking, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Virginia Tech has not played well at all this year. They've been pretty lackluster, inconsistent. They've had a couple decent quarters, and other than that, it's been just a mess. Miami's been really good. A little slow starting maybe last week against South Florida, then just hit the gas and blew them out of the stadium. Fine. The way I look at this is that if Virginia Tech were to play their best game and Miami were to play their best game, I still don't think Virginia Tech loses by 3 scores. Right? The thing is, like, Virginia Tech, there's nothing I've seen so far to indicate that they're going to be competitive here. Like, the offensive line's overwhelmed. Drones looks bad inside the pocket. It's not looked very good inside the pocket. Defense has actually been okay down to down, but they're still giving up some big plays, and they're on the field a lot because the offense can't sustain drives. So there's just like a lack of complementary football. I think that Virginia Tech needs to decide what the avenue is going to be here. Do you want to go down there and be really, really hyper aggressive and try to steal some scores, and maybe that increases your chance of getting blown out, right? Because you're maybe giving Miami some short fields, trying to sustain drives, maybe going for it on like 4th and 5 at your own 40, right? And that sort of stuff to keep the ball out of Miami's hands, shorten the game, and give yourself an opportunity late, maybe capitalize in the red zone, which is something they've really struggled with. Like, is that going to be your game plan? Or is it going to be something similar, but like sit on the ball, run the play clock down? Think of it like the 2020 game at home against Clemson, Trevor Lawrence's senior year, when Clemson was in the playoff. They hosted Clemson in Blacksburg, and Tech was actually in that game in the third quarter because they had that game plan of, we're just going to run the clock down really low, and we're going to keep the ball out of Clemson's offense's hands because the offense was really good at Clemson. I don't know what the game plan is here. I think because Virginia Tech believes they have the talent to compete here, they're going to probably try the former, like be aggressive and try to compete here because they feel like they can do it. If they play their best game, they can beat in this game late.
Okay.
And that's why I'm picking Miami.
Yeah.
There is nothing I've seen here to indicate that Virginia Tech's going to keep this game close at all. I mean, Cam Ward's playing at a Heisman Trophy level. He's been outstanding. Their defense has been feisty as hell. I mean, I understand that the opponents haven't been great, but they're a top 5 unit against the run. They're a top 15 unit against the pass this year defensively. They got dogs on the defensive line. Virginia Tech's offensive line is the weakest part of their entire roster. It's just it's a tough match. It's a bad matchup for Tech, and they haven't been consistent anyway. The only way you keep this competitive is Drones is the extra hat in the running game, and he has his best game running the football, and then he creates some downfield stuff in the passing game. But like, I can't in good conscience pick Virginia Tech here. No way.
You bring up a really good point.
42-17 or 42-17 or something. Like,
yeah. You bring up a good point that if you're Brent Pry and you've seen the way that your team has played so far and you've seen the way that Miami has played, like the smart game plan here is try to slow the game down, try to run clock, limit possessions, basically play the significant underdog role here and try to hope for some random stuff to go your way, basically. And at that point, I mean, the under would definitely be in play here. Total's 53.5. I mean, that's where I'm nervous making these picks that that Brent Pry sees these things and is like, nah, what if we just be legends and try to go win the game and like go blow for blow with Miami here? It's like that's not a winning strategy at all. So,
it doesn't seem to be in his nature, even though people criticize the offensive play calling. It doesn't seem like it's in his nature to really be conservative.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem like that's him. Aggressive defensive coordinator his entire career. He's now going to play a game conservative. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't like this matchup for Virginia Tech with what we've seen so far this year. I mean, they would have to come out and look substantially better than they've looked basically at all this season. I mean, they've had a good half in a couple of these games, but they have not put together a good full 4 quarters so far this year, and it's hard to imagine they're going to go into South Florida and do this against this Miami team the way they've been playing in this spot. So I'm with you. Give me Miami. I'm going to say give me the under, and I don't know if this is 38-14 or something like that. I think this goes under the total, but it's like I do think that Virginia Tech will keep Miami off the board a little bit. Like they won't get into the 50s by themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say under here, and we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, stay away from me on the total. Real quick, this is kind of going back to the look back thing you were talking about with Georgia Tech. If Virginia Tech loses this game by 2 touchdowns, the fan base is going to go ballistic because they're just like really mad about how the first month of the year is gone. And my argument is going, and my argument is going to be, this was probably going to be the outcome even if Virginia Tech was playing well. Because in the case of Virginia Tech losing this game by 14, it probably means that Virginia Tech played one of their best games of the year so far. That's probably what there are ways for that game to play out, but that's probably more than likely would be the case, is that Virginia Tech played a really good game and they were in it. So my takeaway is going to be, well, they were going to be an underdog against this team anyway. This is not the game to get like real mad at the coaching staff, in my opinion.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
From what we've seen so far this year, this is a game where for Virginia Tech to have a shot to win the game, they probably need 1 or 2 big moments on defensive special teams. I mean, you're picking off Cam Ward and running it back in, or getting it
Short
down
field.
to like 1st and goal, something like that. You're running a punt or a kickoff back for a touchdown, or for again into the red zone, like that kind of like. You're going to need some big moments if this is going to be a potential win for the Hokies. Otherwise, you're just trying to keep it close is the goal here.
Yep, agree.
So, all right, Miami for the both of us, under for me. That's all we got weeknight games, Mike. We move on Saturday, September the 28th. And as we get into these, just a reminder, use hashtag GoACCMOTW as you watch these games. You see stuff show up on Twitter, whatever, through the day. That really helps us. Those are award submissions for us so that we get here Saturday night, and we've got some submissions from you guys. So if you want to join us and help out to contribute to the show, once again, hashtag GoACCMOTW to submit award nominations. Primarily GoACC Moment of the Week, but could be anything. So hit us up on Twitter as you see things throughout the day. Mike, let's start at 3:30 p.m. and do something that we have never done on this show, and say this is on Peacock, which you are
on
paying.
On the cock, baby.
It is on the cock for $7.99 a month on the premium cock. It sounds like.
Don't press in.
Thank you, producer Scott. Thank you.
Excellent use of that sound. Yes, thank you.
The number 15 Louisville Cardinals are in South Bend, taking on the number 16 Notre Dame Fightin Irish. Louisville, a 6.5 point underdog. Total is 46.5. What do we make of this Notre Dame team at this point, Mike? Because they lost, 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago at home to Northern Illinois in a game that they were favored by 4 scores. And then they went into West Lafayette and hung 62-0, I think, on Purdue. And
66-7, I believe, was the final score there. Yeah.
Something like, is Notre Dame good or not? Because sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. There's a sound I've been meaning to record since the summer that I haven't been able to do yet, but we'll get there at some point. Is Notre Dame good? I can't really tell.
Louisville, lock it up.
Oh.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
You want the points, or are we just?
I want the points, but baby, this is if you want to sprinkle money line, I'm all for it. I understand that Louisville has only played one real opponent in Georgia Tech.
Oh, thank
Louisville's got a top 20. Well, I mean, Georgia Tech, they stopped losing to the Citadel, so we can take them out of the Austin P category of opponent, I think. So
that's high praise. Anyways.
Yeah, very, very high praise. Louisville hasn't really played much of anybody, right, outside of Georgia Tech. They played Austin P, and my computer is freezing at the moment. Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
Those are the two opponents before Georgia Tech. The reason why I bring that up is because Louisville has a top 20 rushing defense, and Notre Dame's only way to move the football right now is to run it. And Georgia Tech's got a pretty good rushing offense, and Louisville held them to 37 carries for 98 yards. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Louisville's defense did look very good against the run last week, for sure.
And that's really bad news for Notre Dame because they threw their first touchdown pass as a team last weekend. Riley Leonard finally got the first team offense into the end zone through the air with a touchdown pass to former friend of the ACC, Bo Collins.
Are there like confetti cannons that went off or anything like that, or like?
I mean, they were struggling to gain separation from Miami of Ohio, and they did, and they beat them. They covered the spread, and it was fine. But this is a flawed Notre Dame team. They are excellent defensively, right? So, I mean, I think if Tyler Shuck gets a case of the turnovers, which he's known to do, I could see a path for Notre Dame to win this game and cover. But I mean, Louisville's defense looked really good against the run last weekend in their first real test against the run. Notre Dame's only method of moving the ball consistently is by handing the ball off to their stable of running backs. But I don't think they're like an elite running team either, Notre Dame. I think they're a good running team, but I think you can make the argument that they saw a better running team last weekend in Georgia Tech. So, yeah, I like Louisville here. I think Notre Dame's really going to struggle to move the football in this game. And that's why I think this is a 4-quarter game. I think Louisville keeps it close. I think they have an opportunity to win this game outright. And it's not even that I think Louisville is like an outstanding team this year. I think they're good for sure. But do I think they're like top? Like, I'm not sure they're the 15th best team in the country. Like, I don't know that for sure. But what I do know is that this is a really, really bad matchup for Notre Dame here. So that's where I lean. I lean heavy on Louisville because I think they're going to have a little bit more success moving the ball based on what I've seen so far. They're more balanced offensively, and you may not need to score a lot, even against this really good Notre Dame defense. You may not need to score a lot to cover the spread and maybe win this football game outright on the road.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is not a great matchup for Notre Dame. A team that is a little bit one-dimensional on offense, and Louisville's defense, again, they haven't been tested a ton here, but again, as you mentioned, Georgia Tech, good rushing offense, and they stood up to them just fine last week. And Will Secor mentions that was Buster Faulkner's worst game at Georgia Tech, calling a game. I'm not going to tell you it was a well-called game, but the point is, like, I mean, you had, 24 carries by the running backs for, like, 50 yards or something. I mean, you do it time after time and they keep stopping it. Like that bodes well for this matchup against Notre Dame here, I would say. Other side of the ball, I mean, I agree. Notre Dame's got a really, really good defense, but this is one of those things where eventually a good offense against a good defense, like a good defense can only hold for so long and so many times. Like Jeff Brom is going to scheme something up here, and I trust him and that staff for Louisville to scheme some stuff up that Notre Dame I don't trust to come up with some rabbits out of the hat in the way that I think Louisville can here. Worth mentioning, they played this game last year in Louisville and the Cardinals won, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of precedent here.
That was correct. Yeah.
So I'm with you, Mike. Give me the 6.5 with Louisville. I don't want to be bold enough, and I also don't want to pay $8 a month to watch this game, but Louisville's got a good shot to win this game outright.
They
think.
They do.
And
yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you really like that, I mean, depending on where you look, you can get like 2-1 odds right now on Louisville to win this game. Like,
yeah,
that's good enough for me that I would place a little sprinkle here. So I like this spot for Louisville. The total's 46.5. That is a really low number, and I'm probably just going to leave that alone. But this is you wonder too a little bit. Louisville looked a little bit sloppy, a little bit lackadaisical last week at times on offense. You wonder, was it a bit of a look ahead spot even? You know, coming into this game, going into South Bend. Like I like the Cardinals here. I think this is a good spot for them. I will be impressed if Notre Dame is able to get some separation here and win this game by 10 points or more. Like, I think this might be like a sneaky, really good Louisville team that is going into South Bend here.
This is one of Notre Dame's like few tough games remaining, and they need to look impressive here after losing to Northern Illinois. And look, a Notre Dame brand with 11 wins, like, have at it, leaving them out of the playoff. I would not put my money on them being left out given their TV draw. Yeah. So, but with that said, they need to look impressive here. I think they gotta win this game by a couple scores. This is like outside of USC. This is it in terms of like real quality teams left on the schedule. Florida State sucks, so this is it.
I mean, with the one loss
Georgia Tech maybe.
Yeah, well, with the one loss to Northern Illinois, you wonder a little bit, like, would a 2-loss Notre Dame team with one of those losses, that's definitely a bubble situation, I would think. Like,
I mean, 10-2 with a loss to Northern Illinois, I'd be pretty surprised to see them get in.
Home loss to a MAC team, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Will Secor is over here making a good case. Take the under here, 46.5. Says, call me Mark Calloway. I'm the Undertaker. I like that. I like it, Will. I like where your head's at.
Like that a lot.
That's right. All right, Louisville for the both of us. Mike's got it locked up. I don't have the guts to lock it up. I don't have the guts to even just say money line here, but I think this is a good spot for Louisville. They got a good shot here, so we will see how that goes. Producer Scott, you trying to make your first lock of the year?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Understood.
No!
Understood.
No!
Point made. 7 o'clock on ESPN, the Stanford Cardinal on the road in Death Valley, taking on the number 17 Clemson Tigers. Clemson, a 21.5 point home favorite here, totals 57.5. We did confirm, by the way, Mike, that Stanford, after playing at Syracuse last Friday, they did return to Palo Alto for the week for, classes and practices and whatever, and they are now traveling back to the East Coast to play in South Carolina this weekend. There was a story that some of the laundry for Syracuse or for Stanford might have traveled down to Clemson and been done by some of the Clemson equipment staff earlier in the week. That's true, but I'm not making that up. That is a real story that came out because, again, since when does Stanford play back-to-back games on the East Coast in a given week? So go ACC to that.
Stanford still hasn't actually made it to Clemson. This is like,
oh no!
As we're talking tonight, their flight was
delayed. Hurry up!
Their flight was delayed multiple times this afternoon, ultimately canceled, and they're trying to find a contingency plan. So they are not even in flight. They are still in California.
Is it too late to lock up Clemson minus 21.5? My goodness.
Listen, Joey, I feel like out of principle, just knowing how good of a coach Troy Taylor is, I feel like out of principle, you almost just have to take Stanford outside 3 scores. But Joey, Clemson, the offense is rolling, and Ashton Daniels will throw you a few.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, look, Stanford maybe can hang for a while, and then if Daniels makes a mistake or two and Clemson's got a short field with how this offense has been operating here last couple games, this is where I think Clemson gets some separation. So I am reluctantly taking the Tigers, but I like what Troy Taylor's doing, man. This just seems like a tough matchup, and then you add in logistical stuff, you add in Ashton Daniels and how he turns the ball over. I don't like this for Stanford. Yeah. I don't like it for Stanford.
I don't either. I didn't realize that. I mean, so obviously you've got, as we record, probably right about now is this hurricane making landfall on the Florida Panhandle, and that's obviously, I mean, the Braves have had multiple games postponed, and like this is going to wreak some havoc up the East Coast. I'm sure this is a piece of it. Is Stanford's flight? They probably fly into Atlanta and then, or maybe fly straight into, I don't know, Clemson or Greenville or something like that. But like, not messing with that right now. Like, I'm with you. If Stanford had been at home last weekend against, I don't know, name your opponent, whoever, it doesn't matter. I wanted to take the Cardinal in this spot, getting 3 touchdowns in the hook. But with not only with the way that Clemson's playing, but figuring that they're not going to get in until like tomorrow, and I mean, just this does not bode well for Stanford. Give me Clemson, lock it up. I don't.
You better
yeah.
You better lock it up.
Oh.
You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
A
Clemson,
lock there?
Clemson's on the watch list for the wagon watch list.
They are.
And
they are.
Stanford back-to-back cross-country road trips. Like, look, don't overcomplicate this. Like,
Yeah.
this is Clemson's going to roll here, and welcome to the ACC, Stanford.
Will Sikora said that landfall was like 3 minutes ago, which is hilarious.
Oh, there you go.
So, how about that for timing, Joey? We're sitting here talking about Virginia Tech, Miami. Meanwhile, there's a hurricane making landfall. Look at that timing.
Yeah. Hartsfield all the way closed down. Best bet is like DC and drive down. Yikes.
I mean, that's like 8 hours.
I was gonna say. I mean, at that point, like what? Raleigh's probably not open. Like Charlotte, probably
Charlotte
closed.
should be open.
Charlotte,
Not
I think
that close to
probably.
Charlotte yet.
Charlotte, Nashville,
Yeah.
Greenville also closed. There you go. See,
What?
Will's tied in, knows what's going on.
Will, how much airport info do you have?
Will Sikora, you're a traffic controller. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, Clemson out of principle here. But I guess the other thing to mention is that if Clemson wins this game like 48-12 or something, I think we're gonna have to just put them on a wagon list. I think they're just a certified wagon.
Yeah. I mean, I want to watch how this plays out. There's a chance that if Stanford is just super jet lagged and like messed up from this whole thing, like
They have a nice excuse.
maybe you just somewhat dismiss the whole thing. But I mean, yeah, at some point there's something to watching Clemson just go in and just wreck someone that is still like a acceptable opponent. It's like, okay, that's a noteworthy data point. So yeah, we can keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
All right, fair enough. Clemson for the both of us. I've got Clemson locked up. We will we'll see how that all goes, and just assume that Stanford's going to get here at some point. So we'll find out.
Not ideal.
8:00 on the ACC network. Also not ideal for the Florida State Seminoles. They're on the road in Dallas, taking on the SMU Mustangs. Mustangs are a 6.5 point favorite in this game. Total's 48.5.
Down to 6.
Oh, it's down to 6 now. Down to 6. Okay. All right. And total's down to 47.5. So do with that what you will. SMU's first ACC game officially, and they get Florida State coming in off their first conference win of the year, first win overall for what that's worth. Florida State won on the scoreboard last week. They have yet to cover a spread for what that's worth.
Yeah.
So again, do with that as you will. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take the points of Florida State. Honestly, like just SMU looked good last week against TCU. They put up 66 points, I think, in that game. But we said there was like 3 non-offensive scores, and TCU might be in the range of cheeks.
Oh, they're bad. I think. Yeah, I think they're bad. I think
TCU might kind of suck.
Sonny Dykes might want to get the old. I mean, they won't do it this year, but he might want to clean up the old CV, so to speak. And
yeah. Case in point, SMU scored 66 points last week. The total in this game is 47.5. So, what does that tell us? I'm not sure that anything is going to work for SMU nearly as well as it did last week against TCU. And I think Florida State, as much as their offense has been problematic in the worst way, their defense the last couple weeks has still definitely shown up and signed up for 60. So give me the Noles. They got a shot to win this game. I'm certainly not going to lay more than 6 with SMU here. So give me the Noles to keep this close, and give me the under. I think this is another just rock fight game that Florida State's going to drag someone down into.
Yeah, we disagree. I like SMU, but I think there is something. I think there is something to the drag him down, make it look ugly, sort of thing. I think if you're Florida State, the one thing I would say that I would feel good about if I were a Seminoles fan is that the defense did look a lot better last week, and we'll see if that is just because they played Cal, or if that's because the defense is actually starting to figure some things out. The reason why I bring that up is because SMU's offense is better than Cal's, but I think SMU's strength is running the football. And Florida State went into that game last week against Cal knowing they were going to try to run the ball with Jaden Ott, and they really couldn't. I mean, they took that away. And I worry about SMU's offensive line here a little bit. I worry about SMU running the football here a little bit. And we're going to find out pretty quickly, can Kevin Jennings win you a game with his arm?
Yeah.
Because I think if that's how the script plays out, I think Florida State is the right side. But I just haven't seen enough out of Florida State's offense to garner any sort of real confidence that they're going to be able to win this outright. I think it's going to have to kind of look like the Cal game did, because I'm not sure if they're capable of scoring 3 touchdowns, no matter who do they play at the end of the year? Charleston Southern. They'll probably score 3 touchdowns there.
Yeah.
But maybe not anywhere else. I don't know. It's a struggle for the offense, man. But a play that I really like here is I am locking up the under 47.5.
Hey.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
Love the under. I think both offenses are going to have a really hard time here. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is, again, another low total. I think last week Florida State unders out of principle almost right now. I bet under, scroll up in the Google Doc. What was it? Under 44.5 last week, and that cruised home. Cruised home. We had 20 points of separation there. I could see this being a little more higher scoring, but 20-17 gets you home. If Florida State were to cover, you could have SMU winning by a touchdown, having this be 17-10. That gets you home. I love the under here.
I'm just irritated that you locked up under 44.5 and just cruised.
Cruised.
Never a sweat.
Cruised.
On under 44.5.
Cruised.
Never even a threat. I will say, I think you actually probably explained my thought process better than I did. Thinking on SMU's offense stylistically with Kevin Jennings. If this were the SMU offense we thought we were going to get 6 weeks ago with Preston Stone at quarterback, I might feel differently about this because of the ability to air it out and stretch the defense and go down the field. if SMU is going to do the run-heavy offense, Kevin Jennings thing that we saw last week, and we have seen at times when he's been in the game so far this year, this is a matchup problem for me with Florida State's defense. I think they can stop the run without a problem, and so, as you said, it becomes, can Kevin Jennings beat you with his arm? I'm with you. I don't think that he can. So
Yeah.
that's where you give me close to a touchdown with Florida State and what should be a low-scoring rock fight, and we agree on that. Yeah, give me the points with Florida State, and I agree. I like the under here. Highest scoring, I can kind of see this is like 24-21, something like that. So that still comes in under that 47.5 number.
Yeah, by about a field goal.
Yep. So, are you? You said you're on SMU here -6.
I'm on SMU. I just think
Okay.
that SMU's got more. They got more avenues offensively to put the ball in the end zone. I think they just got a little bit more competence on that side of the ball. But I do think if this is Florida State blows up the SMU offensive line, then I think it's going to be like a Houston, we have a problem situation for SMU.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
this could go sideways quick on them. I think.
Yeah. I might come back and join you on the under, locking that up, but not for now. We will see. Mike, as mentioned before, Georgia Tech still owns Florida State after that win in Ireland. So as such, this preview brought to you by Section103.com, the internet's premier place for all things wonderful Georgia Tech apparel. They got T-shirts, they got sweatshirts, they got hoodies, something for men, women, children, babies, something for the whole family, all of them. Any Georgia Tech fan in your life, they need something from Section103.com. Use promo code GOACC at checkout for 10% off your first order. I love this performance tech shirt right now. It's the official word mark. It's got that official tech gold. Looks great. Keeps me cool. Looking forward to breaking back that Coach hoodie back out. It's a super soft gray hoodie. All sorts of wonderful things. You want to look like Coach Key? He's got the short sleeve hoodie that he wears on the sidelines all the time. He was sweating bullets through it at Louisville last weekend. You want to do that? You can buy one, section103.com. And once again, use promo code GOACC at checkout for 10% off your first order. For whatever reason, Georgia Tech apparel, pretty tough to find good stuff on the internet. If it is, though, you haven't been looking at Section 103. So go do that. One more time, promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order at checkout. Shout out to Steven and the gang. Really appreciate their support. We love ours. You will love yours. Will Secor mentions he has a Drew Burris jersey from Section 103. They've got a lot of NIL shirts, as mentioned, Will Secor. So football, basketball, baseball, lots of stuff. All sorts of different great things for Georgia Tech fans at section103.com.
Bang.
Bang. 4 o'clock on ESPN2, Mike. Bang that victory bell. Victory bell.
Bang the what?
It's the battle for the victory bell. It's God.
Oh, wait.
North Carolina is in Durham taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Producer Scott's on one tonight.
He's on the roll here.
Duke's a 2.5-point favorite at home. Total's 55.5. As mentioned, the battle for the victory bell. Duke coming off a big win last week. North Carolina coming off a big loss. Mac Brown definitely not retired. You remember the beef here, Mike, right? Between Mac Brown and Manny Diaz?
They're not fans of one another. Well,
Manny's definitely not a fan of Mac. I know that for sure.
Mac Brown did the whole, like, walking up to him after the game and putting the hand on the shoulder, and Manny just eviscerated him.
Manny was like trying to walk away, and Mac wouldn't let go. It was like lecturing him at one point. That was
Manny eviscerated him in the press. Just not a fan.
Was that
Not
like
a fan.
2-3 years ago? Manny was still the head coach at Miami, is what it was.
Yeah, so I mean, three. Yeah,
Was he at Penn State for 2 years?
he was. And Cristobal's in
Jeez,
year
there you
2
go.
at Miami. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was 2021. Yeah, this game that that Manny and Mac had their post-game handshake moment there at midfield. This goes way back before that too, by the way, Mike, because Mac Brown had Manny Diaz as his defensive coordinator back at Texas, fired him And after I think Taysom Hill ran roughshod on that defense for BYU. So this has been a long brewing thing, and Manny Diaz, certainly this year, one of the themes coming into the year for Duke was this might be the Manny Diaz revenge tour, because there were, not only this one, but then obviously Miami, and there were a couple different spots that he had specific issues. I'm laying him with Duke, Mike. I am doubling down on my North Carolina kind of sucks take. I think this is a low-scoring game. I don't know that Duke is capable of winning a shootout with North Carolina. I think North Carolina's offense is better, but I do think Duke's defense might be capable of dragging this down into a little bit of a rock fight kind of game. I think Duke definitely has the better quarterback here, for sure. So give me the Blue Devils laying a short number, 2.5. That's fine. They win this game by a field goal for sure.
Yeah, I like Duke here too. That's a good pick, Joey. Duke at home with Malik Murphy. They have the better quarterback. They have the better defense, more importantly. And Carolina is still trying to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. Like, it's probably going to be Jacoby Criswell. But, like, I know they scored 50 last weekend, but it was a lot of, like, hurry up and JMU's up by 1,000. And we're playing like prevent defense sort of thing in the second half. I mean, this game was not competitive, right? So, like, don't let them scoring 50 fool you. A lot of empty calorie points there last weekend from Carolina. On the other side, too, Duke's offense is probably not as good as it looked against Middle Tennessee State, right? Like, Middle Tennessee State, I think, is pretty bad. Like, bottom of the FBS bad this year. They're really, really bad. And so this is a team, we made the joke about Duke scoring 26 points in 3 consecutive weeks and then having the 45-point outburst against Middle Tennessee State. I am not putting a lot of stock into that. This Duke offense really struggles to run it. A lot is put on Malik Murphy. And I think in this game, look, Carolina's defense is not fantastic, but I think they're better than what they showed last weekend. I mean, that was really... Carolina's defense wasn't looking that bad. And again, I would say adjust for opponent, but like James Madison's supposed to be taking a step back this year and they hung 70. So I just think it was just kind of a weird week. And we'll see if they're as bad as they looked last weekend. I don't think they are. Like, again, the defense played horribly, but the defense didn't give up 70. We mentioned this on the recap. Like, there was some special team scores, there was a pick six, like there was other stuff happening.
Defense gave up like 49. I think is what it was.
It was still really bad, but
it's a lot.
It was bad. It was really bad, but it wasn't like the defense gave up 70. So I just want to be clear there. Yeah. I think Duke's a better team. I think they have the better quarterback, and they're at home. I think Duke inside a touchdown. I like the under here as well. I think that Duke struggles to move it a little bit, and Carolina, I think, really struggles to move it against Duke's defense. I like a lower scoring game here. I think Duke wins this thing by like a touchdown. So
I just wonder with everything that we saw from North Carolina last weekend, like, do things start to spiral a little bit for them this year? Like, do you think that's the, so there was the post-game speech thing from Mac in the locker room, and then that became a story like Sunday into Monday. Like,
yeah.
Do you think that's the last time that we're talking about that this year?
No.
Because I don't.
No, definitely not. Couple of emerging storylines. That's one of them. And that's the more exciting one and the fun one. The other one to monitor, outside the Manny Diaz, Mac Brown thing, which is a really good point that I had forgotten about. The other fun one is that Duke wins this game, they're 5-0.
Yeah.
And Joey, they got like a tough schedule, but if they win this game and they're 5-0, I don't care what you say about the rest of the schedule. They got Wake on there, they got Florida State on there, they got SMU on there, they got some winnable games on there. There's some winnable games on there. I mean, they might be going bowling anyway, but I think if you win this week, you're definitely going bowling.
Oh yeah.
And that is a huge, a monumental year one for Manny Diaz if he takes that team bowling after what was lost off of it last year when Elko left. I mean, that would be just gigantic. You lost your starting running back. Lost your starting quarterback. Your defensive coordinator that was a stud went to Georgia Tech. Obviously, Elko brought a bunch of assistants with him. To go in there and then make this team a bowl team year one. And I've been very vocal about the Duke 4-0 thing, little bit of smoke and mirrors. Are they actually that good? But I mean, there's no, at the end of the day, this is a team I didn't think was going to make a bowl game.
I agree. I think I had him at like 4-8, and
Steve Wiseman wasn't even sure. He was like, 5 or 6 would be really good. I mean, you're about to be at 5 before we turn the calendar to October.
Yeah,
potentially here. So I mean, that monumental success if he pulls this off, and I think he's going. I think they're going to a bowl game. Like I think they're going to.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But,
I agree. Regardless of context, like make it to a bowl game. Full stop. Successful season. I have no further questions. I don't. Yeah. I'm not going to litigate. Who'd you beat? Who did you lose? Like no, we thought this was like I'll call it like 4-8. I think we probably would have guessed 3-9 to 5-7 somewhere in there. Like
yeah.
To make a bowl game, nope, you're good. Good season.
Yeah, like I'd have to go back and see what I said when I was recording with Steve, but yeah. I think I was probably thinking 4 or 5 would be good.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a storyline to monitor anyway coming out of this.
I will call out real quick. And Dennis had his head right in the same place that mine was at. Does that JMU loss cause the North Carolina team to spiral like we've seen in the last couple of years? So
yes, potentially.
I think about it somewhat that, but also, and maybe the Mac retirement stuff is like a symptom more than an underlying cause. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But again, rivalry game, weird stuff happens. We talk about it's in Durham, but like, can they, will they like pack out that stadium with fans, or is it going to be a bit of a Chapel Hill takeover? Like, who knows? Keep an eye on that. But I think you and I both agree, lay the 2.5 with Duke, take the under 55.5. I think Duke wins, and it's a little bit of a low scoring rock fight kind of a game. And Manny Diaz's revenge tour.
Probably stay off this with your own money, but for the podcast, I'm not sure I'm touching this with a 10-foot pole betting wise.
Would agree with that.
Yeah.
There is a lot of picks and no locks here, and that's instructive on how we feel about it. This could go in a lot of different directions. So we'll keep moving here at noon on the CW.
Cheeks.
Mike B. The Cheeks W. NC State at home, a 6.5-point favorite, taking on the Northern Illinois Huskies. Total is
up to 7.5 now.
Oh no, 46.5 is the total. All right, so let's do this, Mike. We looked through the whole slate this week.
Okay, yeah.
We looked through the whole slate. We've been doing the home field, home dog of the week. And as fate would have it, there are no home dogs in ACC games this week. However, this is a game with two teams that have dog-related mascots, canine mascots, if we sounded intelligent about it. And it's on the CW. So how about CW Underdogs presented by HomefieldApparel.com? Use promo code GOACC for 15% off your first order.
That's just marketing, baby. Shout out Home Field. That's just marketing.
For years, Mike, anytime that I have told anybody in real life I host a college football podcast, they're like, oh, what's it called? Basketball Conference. And they look at me funny, and I tell them, we're not marketing geniuses.
No.
But when it comes to segments on the show and looping in sponsors, maybe we are.
But we've built a semi-popular niche podcast for college football fans. So that's what. Look at us.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I got a pick for you here.
Okay.
Northern Illinois.
Do you want the points, or we just?
I want the points.
Okay. That's all right.
I want the points. It's not even about Northern Illinois. It's about NC State. We've already seen them play down to teams like this year. And we have multiple data points of them doing so. And now we're going to have them play a nooner at home against a team that already went into South Bend and beat Notre Dame, right? And I get that was like the win, the biggest win in program history for Northern Illinois. And yes, I know they lost to Buffalo last weekend on a game-winning field goal. I understand, right? I get it. But NC State's been playing down to opponents. Offense looks a little suspect. We talked about the defense at the top of the show, and Northern Illinois has got a few guys that could really take the top off.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed that to Notre Dame expeditiously, which makes me real nervous if I'm NC State here and I start screwing around and I look up and it's a close game in the fourth quarter. And I think Northern Illinois' defense is going to give NC State some problems here. I have not seen enough out of NC State's offense to really garner any sort of confidence they're going to pull away here and win this game by multiple scores. The total is 46.5 for a reason. NC State is now favored by just over a touchdown for a reason. And again, I've asked this question a couple times tonight, but if you looked at this game before the year, wondering what NC State was going to be, thinking they were probably going to be 8, 9, 10 win good, you were probably looking at this as a pushover game. You're probably thinking NC State was going to be favored by at least 2 scores, maybe a little bit more. The fact that they're
15,
not.
16.
This is kind of the opposite of the Virginia Tech thing we talked about earlier. It's kind of going the other direction. It says a lot more about NC State than it does about their opponent, just like it says a lot more about Virginia Tech than I think it does about Miami, for as good as Miami's been. Give me Northern Illinois with the points. I would lean under here. I'll make the under actually a pick. I like the under here. And be careful, NC State. Be really careful.
Be very careful. Be very careful. I want to be very clear about something. Is I'm going into this with eyes wide open. Okay, I am not guy that casually flipped over to his TV, with 3 minutes left in the Notre Dame game and saw Northern Illinois win that game and said, "Okay, I think they could have a shot in Raleigh." No. I'm fully aware that they then lost at home in overtime to a potentially bad Buffalo team 2 weeks later last week. Mm-hmm. I'm aware of this. However, I'm also aware that this Thomas Hammock
stroke.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been a week. This Thomas Hammock NIU program loves these opportunities to go in against these big boy teams. He was the head coach when they went into Atlanta and beat Georgia Tech game 1 in 2021. Mm-hmm. They have done it since then. They did it to Notre Dame. There is a shot here that they are going to do it again in Raleigh against a flawed North Carolina State team that struggled to defend the run last week and has struggled to defend the run so far this year. Why would I not pick Northern Illinois? He said to himself when it was only 6.5. And now it's 7.5. And the only reason I might not pick Northern Illinois is, why is this number going up? Like, who's putting money on NC State here? What do they know? Like, that's the one thing that spooks me here.
Yeah.
But no, I'm almost interested in Northern Illinois plus 220 to win the game outright. Mm-hmm. I think that's very much on the table here. This feels, again, like a bit of a bad matchup for NC State right now. If those young linebackers, that young front on the defense isn't ready for a 60-minute physical rushing attack that Northern Illinois is going to bring, this might be bad news for the Wolfpack in their own building. Not to mention CW underdogs principle. Give me the Huskies. And give me the under. I'll take the points. And man, I'm tempted to say Northern Illinois wins this game outright because I am not feeling very good about NC State right now, and this just feels like a spot where Northern Illinois is ready to come in and play spoiler.
They are a CW underdog.
Mm-hmm.
And I was explaining to a friend of the show, Andrew Alex, my Hokie Hangover podcast co-host. I was explaining to him the record of underdogs playing on the CW, and he said that while he refuses to pick teams based on what mid-television network they're playing on, he said that that's pretty informative, and you'd have to consider it. And that tells you absolutely everything you need to know. And then he picked NIU. So there you go. We did it. We did it.
The only new wrinkle here that I wonder about, how do we feel about CW underdogs in Nooners? Because that might supercharge the
I feel better.
principle.
Do we feel better? Yeah. Does that juice the money line a little bit? Like
Yeah.
we do not get a lot of CW Nooners.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in play here as well. So we'll see about all that. Northern Illinois with the points for the both of us. Potential money line sprinkle for the both of us, and under 46.5. Anything else here, Mike?
Nope.
We will keep moving here. Also at noon on the ACC network, the Boston College Eagles at home taking on the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Boston College a 13-point favorite. Totals 54.5. Speaking of, what's the money line here?
Give me Western Kentucky plus that 13. A good offense going on the road, getting 2 scores against a BC defense that has looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when you look at some of the teams Boston College has played, like even the Missouri game, Missouri's offense has been a little bit suspect.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit suspect for as good as they are. And
best offense Boston College has played so far?
My question is this the best offense Boston College has played so far? And I think the answer is probably not. It's probably Missouri, but maybe the second best offense you played so far. They're better in Michigan State, they're better than Florida State, and they're better than Duquesne. So I think it's a coin flip.
I think if you're saying Missouri's really good, you're partially looking back at last year. Like,
agree. Yeah, agree. I agree. I'm holding a Missouri to make the college football playoff ticket, and I don't like it. I'm ready to burn that one up. That's not great.
Nervous.
Yeah, I think based on like just Luther Burden alone, you just have to say Missouri has the better offense because he's an All-American wide receiver that Western simply doesn't have. But yeah, anyway, give me Western Kentucky plus the 13. BC, emotional home game last weekend, went to the wire, toughed it out against a really improved Michigan State team. Great win. Now you got to welcome Western Kentucky into Chestnut Hill for a nooner. And you're given 2 scores, and they got an offense that can go a little bit. I love Western Kentucky here. Love them to cover the 13. The only reason I am not locking it up is because I think Boston College can score with Western Kentucky a bit, because as good as Western Kentucky's offense is, defense, and BC's offense has looked decent so far. Like, have they always punched it in the red zone? No. But they've looked good enough to score in this game, I think. So that's the only reason I won't lock it up. I could see a scenario where BC covers. But I really, really, really like Western Kentucky plus the 13 here, to the point where I think I will be betting it this weekend. I think I will be betting Western Kentucky to cover 13.
For what it's worth, Hilltoppers anywhere between plus 340, plus 375 to win the game.
Speaking of
Don't hate
sprinkles.
Don't hate it. I'm with you. Give me the points with Western Kentucky. I think this is a game where I do think that Western's going to be able to score for sure. I mean, they've scored in every game that they've played so far. Like, they score a lot of points. Defensively, different discussion. But I think I'm not going to pick the Hilltoppers to win outright here. And I think a lot of that is because of what I think of this Boston College coaching staff. I think they're going to have them ready. They're going to have them fundamentally sound enough to make sure that they don't stub their toe that bad. But certainly, I mean, there's backdoor cover potential here for the Hilltoppers. Like, with a number this big, I like an offense that can score with a number this big. And maybe I'm a sucker, and maybe Western's actually not that good, and Boston College wins this game by like 24 points, and that's, it's on the table. It's what you open yourself up to.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think they're going to be able to score, and more importantly, I don't think Western's going to be able to keep Boston College off the board very effectively. I think this is getting pointsy. I think this is going to be a shootout. Give me the over 54.5 in this game, and let's go ahead and lock that up.
Oh, okay.
Lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
Yeah, we're locking up overs in Boston College games. How do we feel about that, Mike?
Better you than me. Better you than me.
It's a low number it's a low number for a Western game too, right? Like it doesn't take much for Boston College to score 30 points against this Western Kentucky defense, I would say. I mean, so
I don't hate the bet. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. 54.5 is just an interesting, like mid 50s seems right here. So to me,
fair enough. That's fair. That's fair. Anything else here?
No, I think we're good. Be careful, BC.
Yeah, definitely
be careful. Don't let this be competitive in the fourth quarter. That's what I would say.
Yeah, take care of your business and win this game, please.
Quick hurricane update. Completely onshore.
Okay, all right. Good. We're moving.
Got that out of the way. Good.
We're moving. Stanford can take off now. So
I don't know about all that.
From what, San Jose or wherever they're flying out of? Yeah. Anyways.
Good God. Yeah. Wow. The ACC.
Last one of the big games here, Mike. 3:30 on the ACC network. And I saw this number and I was a little bit. What am I missing here? The Wake Forest Steamin' Deeks at home taking on the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Wake is a 3.5 point home favorite in this game. Total 60.5. Am I missing something? Like, I don't think Louisiana's that good, and I don't think Wake's that bad. Are they? Like,
the market has no idea what to do with Wake Forest. To be fair, neither do I.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Wake's 1 and 2. They had obviously the tight loss to UVA, and then they played Ole Miss. Bye week last week. I come out of this. I came out of that Ole Miss game and I was like, there were some plays there that Wake could have made to make that a little competitive. Louisiana is kind of bad,
right?
I don't really get this line.
This number kind of stinks.
With Wake. I'm laying him with Wake, but the number stinks. I'm laying him with Wake. I think Wake's a better football team.
Stunk.
He pulled it. Beautiful.
That's a different vibe. But yeah.
Line stinks. But yeah, give me Wake. Give me Wake. I feel like Wake wins. The reason why I'm a little nervous here is because I think Wake should win this game by 2 scores. And the line is 3.5. I think they should win this game by 10 to 12 points. The line's 10.5.
Yeah. Festive. I like that meme enthusiast. I mean, yeah. Wake, right? You're laying a short number with the Deeks. You don't need to win by much. I don't know. This number spooks me a little bit, to the point that I thought it would be 6.5, 7, something like that. And the fact that it's not, I don't want to lock it up. I personally don't, but this feels like a game, whatever you think of Wake this year relative to what they've been in previous years, they should be able to win this game by 7 to 10 points, I would think, without a problem. So we'll see about that. Total 60.5. I think this could go over as well. I do not trust Wake's defense in much of any way, shape, or form, but I do trust Dave Clawson. I think Wake's off a bye here, right?
Wake's off a bye. Yeah, Wake's off a bye.
They should be fine. They'll be okay. I mean, the only thing that sucks is the last time we saw them was 2 weeks ago when they lost 40-6 to Ole Miss. This will be a very different game than that was. Put it that way. So, give me Wake and give me the over for the sake of the picks. I'm not locking anything up here, but I think Wake should win this game for sure.
No idea what to do with the total. So,
yeah,
Wake and stay away on the total for me.
That's fair. All right, Wake for the both of us and over for Mike. A couple more here, Mike. Really just one. We have Syracuse taking on Holy Cross, the Crusaders, at noon on ESPN Plus and the ACC Network Extra. Check your local listings or like streaming options or whatever, however that works. I don't really know. Crusaders not as good as they were last year, but not great. This should be a nice little neck crack game for Syracuse. I think coming off that Stanford loss, like get right, just take care of business here at home. Get the starters out of there mid third quarter, and let's move on to next week.
Lay 'em.
What's the number?
28 in the hook.
Okay,
lay 'em.
28 in the hook.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll lay them. That's fine.
Absolutely. I could see this being like. By the way, no opinion on the total because I don't know how much Holy Cross is going to score here, and I don't know when Syracuse is going to call off the dogs.
Yeah,
couldn't you see like 45-13 or something?
I can see 45-0. I mean,
yeah, yeah. Man,
what's the implied is? Let's see. Hang on. Let's do some math. 29, 14, 40, 43 to 15.
It's around what I just said. Yeah, it's around the.
What'd you say? 48.
I said four. Did I say 45-13? Is that what I said?
Yeah, I think that's what you said. Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. Yeah, let's lay in with Syracuse.
Yeah.
I'm still working on profiling Fran Brown, but
careful.
Okay, all right. Look, I long ago profiled Pat Narduzzi. I long ago profiled Dabo Swinney. Like that's the word I'm using here. Is like I'm trying to understand the man's psyche. Is what I'm getting at. I suspect that this is a game where Fran Brown is going to try to get his guys to go just roll Holy Cross early and move on and kind of be out of here by end of the third quarter. So at that point, I guess, lay the 28.5.
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot envision Holy Cross covering here. I can't envision it. Like I play this game out in my head 1,000 times, and I don't know how many times Holy Cross covers.
A number like 28.5. If Syracuse is up like 45-0 going into the fourth quarter, like could Holy Cross put up 17 against Syracuse's backups in the fourth? Sure. Like, so I'm not going to say like there's no chance, but no concerns about Syracuse here. Like they should win this game going away, no problem.
Yeah, feeling good about for Syracuse.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Mike. I think that's all I've got for week 5. Anything I'm missing here? Forgetting anything?
Play it. Scott's got the sound ready.
5 o'clock on ESPN Plus. The Bowling Green Falcons playing host to the Old Dominion Monarchs. Bowling Green, a 10-point favorite at home. Total is 51.5. I think Bowling Green.
Lay them. Bowling
Green's sneaky good this year, Mike, I think.
They're the whole sneaking up on people is stopping considering who they've played and how they've looked. Old Dominion is
in the range of cheeks, as we say.
Yeah. That job may open, buddy. That's looking a little dicey for Ricky Ronnie there.
Yeah.
That one.
When's the last time Bowling Green was a double-digit favorite in this podcast?
Man,
wow.
Can you believe that Scott Leffler is a competent head football coach? This is insane.
No, it's taken a long time to get there.
But he's gotten there.
Yeah. Somehow, some way. Yeah, lay him with Bowling Green. Falcons going to roll here. Go get him. All right. Anything else? Week 5 before we recap some locks.
I think we did an hour and 23 on a limited slate, so I think we're set.
That's par for the course. All right. Looking back on our locks, Mike, you have Louisville plus the 6.5 against Notre Dame, under 48.5 in the Florida State SMU game. I have Clemson minus the 21.5 against Stanford and over 54.5 in Boston College, Western Kentucky. Anything else before we work on getting out of here?
We are all set.
Scott, we good? Let's do it. All right. We will work on getting out of here. We will be back. We're going to recap these games live Saturday night, youtube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. Probably like 12:15 Eastern.
12:15. Yep.
A couple minutes after midnight. We'll be here. Come join us. We appreciate that. People join us in the comments. We had a lot of fun tonight with folks. Again, Will Secor, shout out. Meme Enthusiasts. We had a number of people. And Dennis. A lot of folks here with us. Q's44 with us as well. So thank you guys so much for showing out and for joining the community. So thank you guys. If you're here watching right now and you have not yet, please hit that subscribe button. Again, youtube.com/@the-ACC Football Podcast. That is hugely helpful for us. We really appreciate it as we continue to try to build this community and build this podcast and celebrate the ACC, the league that we all love to hate and hate to love. So thank you all for joining us. Mike, we're on Twitter @FTRSJoey, @Mike McDaniel SI, together @BC Podcast ACC. Producer Scott is @Severus_Snipes. Go find him there. We are on iTunes or Apple Music, or whatever they're calling it these days, Spotify, Amazon, all the good places you go find your podcasts on audio format. Please find us there. Mike, we're also on the social medias.
Facebook.com/basketball conference rate review. Find some of our podcasts there. All of them if we're going live, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, go find them there.
Yeah.
Scott, what are we forgetting? Anything else?
Not much. Shout out our sponsors, Home Field Rhoback Section 103. All the links and the codes are in the description. Check out their stuff. It's all good. All of it.
Absolutely. As we said before, we would not endorse companies that we don't believe in their products, and I own products from each of them, and several of the products from each of them, and there's a reason for that. So,
Yep.
they support us. Go support them. We appreciate that.
Yep. 1000%.
All right, Mike. Anything else you want to come back and recap these games?
Let's do it. See you Saturday night. 48 hours.
We'll see you Saturday night. Yep, 48 hours from now. If you're in the path of this hurricane, please be safe. We are here thinking about you, supporting you, and hope that you will join us or be available to join us here at some point in the next couple days. And again, stay safe.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. For that guy, Mr. Mike McDaniel, for producer Scott, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Enjoy the games. Until next time, go ACC.